Hello guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'm gonna meet a friend and her two kids, and we're gonna do the Chicago architecture tour. So I'll show everything later after the tour has started. Alright, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you. 360. I'm going to show the 360 view. There you go. Okay. Look, buddy. Insert there. Chunyi Abdunyi. Abdu çıktı. Abdu kare? Ende şurada. Ala memang masih oh. Ramai tanya deh. Ala. Normal क्यों दे? normal दिन जा खासा. Nanti tayar tu sih. Oh dah. Oh, I have to stand. Hey, I got 4. Where's the other one?
Should be all the way down. Yeah, keep scrolling. There you go.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Ticket direct nhớ tên nhớ sao? Bộ. Này, giống ai vậy lấy sao? Only back kid like you man. Aku tahu lah lihat kamera.
Alright. Kopala.
Pala nying je laa je deh je.
Yeah.
Pala kale kya der? Kado deh cute tang der.
10 stories tall. People were so, when it was going up, they were so frightened, they kind of thought, oh, you know, it's going to fall over. Well, today, of course, look around you. We're building 110 story buildings right here in our own city. So as we get ready to depart, I want to mention too that you're going to see a variety of architecture styles. Look at the building on your left. Notice the decorative base, the stack of floors, and the decorative top. That is by Alfred Altshuler. And that building is known as the home insurance, the London House. It used to be known as the London Guarantee Building, but it no longer is used for that purpose. 4 years ago, it was converted to an upscale hotel. It was given the name the London House because there was a nightclub there years ago where famous jazz musicians and singers used to perform. People like Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr. performed at the London House. So this dates to the 1920s. Now, on your it has 472 condominiums. It has penthouses. One of the penthouses sold a couple of years ago for $18 million, and that was for raw space. No drywall, nothing. You know who bought it? The man who invented Beanie Babies. Remember that? Hard to imagine. See what happens, $18 million. But there is a 5-star hotel, a restaurant. There is also retail space at the bottom, none of which has ever been leased to retail space. But the building is poured concrete. It looks like it's metal. It actually is almost 760 tons of concrete wrapped in steel and glass. The architect who designed it was Adrian Smith. He was with Skidmore, Owings & Merrill. Today, Mr. Smith has his own firm, Smith & Gill. He is working on the tallest building in the world, and that building will be in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. It will be 2.5 times the height of the Trump Tower. Take a Trump, put another Trump, and a half a Trump on top of it. Building is 1362. The one in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, are you ready for this? 3,300 feet tall. Scheduled to open next year. The black building on your right by the great German architect Mies van der Rohe. Mies came here from the Bauhaus School in Dessau, Germany. His philosophy of architecture, less is more. Notice there's hardly any ornamentation on the building. Originally built in 1971 for the IBM Corporation, today it houses the American Medical Association. The lower 12 floors are the Langham Hotel, which is a British-owned hotel, which, by the way, still serves high tea. On your right are two of our most iconic towers. They're called Marina City. They're poured concrete around a central elevator core. These apartments start out like a piece of pie, narrow, and then they get wider. Very difficult with traditional furniture. Now, there is a marina, shops, restaurants, but at one time there was an ice skating ring, a bowling alley, and all sorts of amenities. The buildings were built as a city within a city, and you know who financed them? The Plumbers Union. Why? Because in the 1960s, people were all exiting to go to the suburbs. These are the Bar Association. 250 lawyers have their offices. The lower 3 floors are restaurants, the RPM Seafood, plus the second floor is a 300-person special event space. Now this red brick building on your right is masonry construction. Look at the inlays of terracotta, really beautifully designed. But you would have seen one building after another like this about 120 years ago. This was a warehouse. And this river was loaded with barges and tugboats and warehouses. It has changed. This is one of the last vestiges. Notice there are 6 bays. There were 6 on this side, but one was taken off for the widening of the LaSalle Street Bridge. The building was designed in 1915 by an architect by the name of George Nimmons. He was known for his industrial buildings. Coming up on your right is a building that is known as a LEED certified building. LEED is Leadership in Energy Environmental Design. Now there are several levels. There's platinum, there's gold, there's silver. This one is platinum, the highest level. There actually is a park on the roof that absorbs rainwater. The building, 90% of everything in this building can be recycled. And here's the interesting thing. The river water is used for the air conditioning. So when it comes in, it cools the building, but when it comes out, it is cleaner but warmer. So we can't do that anymore because it does affect the marine life in our river. And I know you're all saying, in this river, yes, we have identified 70 variety of fish. And I can tell you within the last 20 years, this river has been cleaned up tremendously. Now on the right-hand side, you have one of the largest buildings ever built in America. It has a 4-acre footprint. It's second only to the Pentagon in Washington. The building has 8 miles of corridors, 500 showrooms. This is the Merchandise Mart of Chicago. Originally built to consolidate 17 warehouses for the Marshall Field Company, now Macy's. What ended up happening is that they finally decided that, you know, it was a situation where they lost the building for back taxes in 1940. The Kennedys bought it, $20 million. You would love to get a return like they did. In 1940, they paid $20 million. They sold it in 1995 for $575 million. The building is Art Deco. It has a vertical thrust, a limestone exterior, geometric shapes and designs. And those bronze heads, well, those are all the great merchant princes, Philemon, Wanamaker, Woolworth, and Montgomery Ward. Now see this large piece of property right here? About 8 years ago, that was a surface parking lot. The Kennedys did not sell this piece of land. They developed it with 2 other groups. This is called Wolf Point East. It's a residential building. This is a brand new building going up called the Salesforce Building. And both of these are by Pelley, Clark, and Pelley. The building, this area here, is called Wolf Point. And this is where Chicago put down her roots. Now, when I say that, the first general store, the first post office, the first ferry boat across the river was all in this location. Now, people always ask me, well, what does the word Chicago mean? It means Chicago. It's a Native American. We think it's Potawatomi. And what it means are two things. One is strong, is tall, strong, and big, which we like. The other is smelly wild onions. And it referred to the wild onions that were harvested by the Native Americans along this area. We are now turning down the north branch of the river. And if you look to your left at the building coming up right here, this one is known as the Residence of River Bend. It's by James DeStefano. Now I have to tell you, these people paid top dollar because of the view looking down the river. Look what happened. Not a lot of happy campers, I gotta tell you. A lot of people sold. But this particular building right here has 4 elegant townhouses on the bottom, and then there are condominiums. But the way it was designed is all the corridors are in the back of the building because they didn't want to ruin the view. The building also is very narrow. They couldn't put a parking garage in, so when you come home, you hand your keys to a valet who actually goes ahead and will take your car, put it on an elevator, takes it to your parking space, provided you purchase one. They're $50,000. You pay a monthly HOA fee and real estate taxes. So parking is quite expensive. The red building coming up here is called Fulton House. Now Fulton House, if you look, see the starfish and the portholes on the top, it has kind of a marine theme to it. The building was originally designed by Mr. Abbott, but Harry Weiss got the job to convert it to condominiums. He had to remove 500 truckloads of frozen horsehair, which was used to insulate the building. The floors are 2 feet thick, the walls 4 feet. That's why the balconies are recessed. The building is now kind of a, it's condominiums. There's some office space at a lower level. Recently, they just spent a fortune redoing the building because, you know, the constant freezing and refreezing from cold storage warehouse actually took its toll on the building. This is by Harry Weiss. Harry loved to sail. These are 2 5-story and 2 4-story townhouses. They're called the Chicago River Cottages. They date from about the 1980s. None of them has ever sold until just about 2 years ago. One of them did sell. Now we're on the North Branch. Look at the building to your right. I don't know if they're getting ready to paint it, trying to pick out a color or whatever. But this building, when they built it in '79 by Levin and Levin, this area was industrial. So they turned their back on the river. Now it's changed, it's residential, and they have added trees and a kayak station, plantings, green space. This is an upscale health fitness center. It has indoor tennis, racquetball, squash, a running track, a health food restaurant, and any other imaginable amenity that you could think about. This is where Barack Obama, Michael Jordan, and Oprah Winfrey all worked out when they lived here in Chicago. It's called the East Bank Club. On your left, you have 70 very, very elegant townhouses. These are, this is called Kinsey Park. And folks, this is a gated community. Now in Chicago, anything along our waterways is open to the public. This is a gated community. However, about 9 o'clock at night, they do close the front gate for security reasons. These units have a patio, a balcony, and a rooftop terrace. You can see that. They were built in 2002. They opened just one model. I went to see the model. I thought, boy, those are really nice. I wonder if I could afford one. Yeah, right. 1.2 million. Are you ready? The first day the model opened, all 70 had deposits on them. Mine was not one of them. I will tell you this, whoever bought one made a wise decision. These are now going for between $2 and $4 million. On your right side is a good example of what we call adaptive reuse. This is another old building that has been turned into a residence. A little less than an architecture. Anytime you see balconies added on, you know that the building had a previous life. This is the old Wallace Press building. They used to print business forms. Today, basically what you have are soft lofts. Now in Chicago, those are real popular. What is a soft loft? Open floor plan, exposed ductwork, brickwork, etc. Usually the floors are concrete or timbers, depending. But this one, it was very, very successful, and it was originally designed by George Nimitz, the guy who did the red brick one I showed you earlier. Now these two white buildings coming up here, this is Kingsbury on the Park, and this is Erie on the Park. These are what we call the European industrial style. All the steel work, the glass block, etc. is all exposed. They didn't go over real big in Chicago. Lucien Lagrange was the architect. They were built in 2002. The park here is called the Montgomery Ward Park. Now the building with the blue windows over there, that recently has been converted to the Montgomery, which are upscale condominiums. It was the corporate headquarters of Montgomery Ward. The windows were originally dark. Notice the four corners, no corner offices. He didn't want anybody to have a corner office. So all the mechanicals were put there. That building was designed by Minoru Yamasaki. I'm sure you probably don't recognize the name, but he was the man who designed the World Trade Towers in New York City. It's the only building he did here in Chicago. Now, as we head down the river, I want to talk about Montgomery Ward, which is a symbol of good luck for the Chinese. There's a new field house. There's a boathouse. We still do the dragon races every year. And if you look underneath the viaduct, you're going to see some absolutely beautiful murals. Now, those are like hanging scrolls from China. I don't know if anyone's ever been to China. The Chinese love doing Tai Chi. They love the martial arts. They also like ballroom dancing. It is not unusual on a Saturday morning to see groups working out underneath the viaduct. Now, we're not running our water taxi because of COVID. We do on the weekends, but if you happen to be here on the weekend, you can take the water taxi, which stops right in front of this boat, get off right at this little pagoda, walk about a block away, and you are in the heart of Chinatown. More than 100 Chinese restaurants. There's a cultural center, great shopping, a beautiful entrance arch to the community as well. So here is the depot for Ping Tom Park. You probably say, well, who is Ping Tom? Ping Tom was a lawyer and an Asian activist for the Asian people. Look directly in front of you as our captain turns around. You have a huge vertical lift bridge. This bridge is the second largest in the country. That whole center section literally lifts up, the one with the house on top of it. Now, I know you're all looking at that and saying, good Lord, why don't they paint it? Well, they are. It's in good working condition. What's it for? How do you get the trains from here across the river? So they go across the vertical lift bridge. Can we go underneath that bridge? No, because if we did, we'd all lose our heads and our wheelhouse. But if our captain called ahead and it's only on special, you can't just say we're going to go for a ride, they would lift the bridge up. See all the there's some sailboats, not many. Most of the sailboats spend their winters there in dry dock. So come May, the bridge goes up, sailboats come out, goes to the next bridge goes down, go to the next bridge.